So, by popular request, demand, today I'm going to be doing the Monster Ball Tour makeup, the original one. They were a little different, the 2.0 and the OG look. And so I'm gonna do the OG one. So let's get started. The first thing I would do after prepping the skin, exfoliating, etc., is put on this. This is Embryolisse. This is a moisturizer, and I would use it as a primer. So let's do just that. I was pretty heavy-handed with this because it's delicious. Do like that. We'll see if this is enough, depending on how dry my skin is. So I would just smear it on liberally. Maybe not rub it all the way in. Leave a little extra there because this moisturizer really helps the makeup, like gives it a good slip without making the makeup slip off the skin, if that makes sense. And since this is the Monster Ball look, in the Monster Ball, the base makeup was very heavy and very powdery. So providing a lot of moisture underneath is very important, especially if you or your client has dry skin at all. I know I said this on the last look, but it's true for both. I've never actually used these products. I've used Embryolisse on myself, but the base products I'm gonna do, I've never worn them on my own skin. So we'll see how this goes. But one of the main reasons being, on Gaga's skin, she has kind of like magical skin, so you can either put barely any base on and it looks gorgeous, or you can put a ton of base on and her skin just really reacts well to anything and doesn't get oily or greasy. Whereas with me, if I put a thick base on my skin, it creases a lot and I get very oily. So I almost get more oily the more makeup I put on. You know, the Monster Ball ran very long. Not just the actual show, but the tour. If you haven't ever seen it, go check it out. It's like the raddest show of all time. Even after seeing it a million times, I still watch it and I love it. So, because it ran so long, and oftentimes she would perform for literally over 2.5 hours. There was a lot of trial and error in creating a look that would last that long. I went through a lot of different products. Now, MAC was the official sponsor of the tour, so a lot of the makeup I had was MAC. That being said, for a lot of the products, I ended up over time incorporating other lines, other brands. What I'm going to show you is kind of like, for the base, what I ended up using for longevity and stuff. Let's begin. For the first layer of base, I would use like stick foundation. Start with a brush like this. I was going to say I have a few different kinds, but literally they're both the exact same brush. So these are both Chanel foundation. It literally says foundation. Chanel. And I just really like the brush. The bristles are very nice. And as you can see, this one is bent to hell and back. So here I have two of these Tom Ford, what are they called? I don't know. For some reason I'm thinking they're called Traceless foundation, but I might be making that up. This is Alabaster and Bisque. Now, why I chose the OG original Monster Ball Theater look and why I'm like gonna separate the two looks is because the original Monster Ball look with the platinum beautiful wig, she was always very fair then, and so that's why the look was a little different. Whereas later on she was more tan, so the color palette did change a little bit. If you didn't notice that, now you will. So I'm going to make my skin today. I mean, I am pretty fair. My ponytail is so crooked, it's like making me crazy. I naturally am pretty fair, but I'm going to make myself just a little more fair so that I can really get the look right, you know what I'm saying? So if you're familiar with MAC, oh, this is a sample. It was approved by Nick. Then you'll know NC25, I think, was like a color I used often. And this is the Studio Stick foundation. So I'm thinking I must have used some of this too. Let's see how this one looks. All right, so that's how I like to do it. I'm holding them all in my hands. I also have these three from Clé de Peau, and I have a few colors of these as well. So we may have to add some of this mushy mush to kind of get the color right, but let's get to dabbing. All right, so NC25 MAC. We're gonna do a little dib dab and just see what's going on. So I'm just gonna like tap it in. Now I have all that embryolisse on my face, so it will help this to not go on quite so like cakey, you know, which I'm not really a fan of. Let's just see how fair that is. I also have this weird like dry situation that's been happening for a while here and here. So I'm gonna have to be really careful with all of these sticks. I'm actually gonna use this brush. This is a Luxie Duo Fiber Powder 516, but I don't use it for powder, I use it for foundation. Do whatever you want with your brushes. Just treat them nicely. So I'm just gonna like go across these sticks like this. I'm gonna go across the #1 Alabaster. If you can see the colors, that's Alabaster, that's NC25, and this is the Tom Ford Bisque. So the colors aren't like all that different. This one just has a little warmth. So let's just dip into them and see what happens, you know? I think if you do it like this instead of with that brush, for someone like me who has a little dry thing happening, it helps these stick foundations be a little more forgiving to like skin textures and such. If you happen to have any, you know, larger pores or any texture that you don't really want the foundation to like grip to and accentuate, which I currently do. With Gaga's skin, you didn't have to be so careful because her skin texture was just flawless, so you could kind of like go to town. Yeah, so far that looks nice. You know? Oh, they are traceless foundation sticks. Okay, it says it on the side. Traceless foundation stick. That's where I got that from. I didn't just make that up. So, like I was saying, so I'm just gonna like skate across these and do a little of this, like speckle it in there all over the place. This I would go over the lid. Don't be afraid to like get makeup on your brows, even if you have microbladed brows as I do, because we're gonna sculpt them and fill them in. And if you have a layer of foundation or something on them, it'll only help them to stay longer in the long run. So don't be afraid of this makeup. Remember, this is like a thicker makeup situation. So just keep like layering it. Like I wouldn't do this directly on the skin because you get too much all at once. I would just go in lightly, a little bit at a time, and layer it on. And as you can probably see, it's still not that thick. Like you can still see my skin texture, my little like, you know, dots and things. Dots? You know, little sunspots and what have you. So I still don't have that thick of a base on yet. Also, don't be afraid to get it on the lips. Just putting some on the lips is a really great way to add an extra layer of lip, like sealant kind of, to like get the layers of lip in there. And this is for even if you're not like doing your makeup for a performance or someone else's. This is when it comes to like a big bold lip. For myself, I usually wear lip stains because I'm just not good with lipstick for me. I always forget I'm wearing it, and I will literally do this and I will have it all over my fingers and my face within minutes. I just wear liner, which I'll show you. I fill in the lips with liner on myself. If I apply from an actual lipstick tube, I look like a clown probably within a half an hour, if not sooner. So my point is, no matter what you're doing this makeup for, this is always a good idea with like a bold lip. I got a nice little layer. It's nothing crazy. I can still see a lot of skin textures. So we're gonna move on to some foundation. It's all about building. I do want to blend this part in a little more because I can see some little streaks. Stippling is a very useful tool in any foundation application. And stippling, if you aren't familiar, sorry about the weird breathing. I've had allergies. The sniffles and the breathing. Stippling is this. So as opposed to like doing a swirl, and it really like gets the makeup kind of like, this might sound bad, but like into your pores, kind of like rolls the makeup. If you think about it like rolling it in, so it kind of like becomes one with your skin rather than just like sitting on the surface. When it just sits there, it can kind of wipe off easily. Creates a more beautiful natural finish. So I know this says powder, but it's the perfect brush for stippling. And the size of it, like this is my favorite foundation brush as well, but you can't really get under the eyes and those little places as perfectly, and this one you can. Not mean. I feel like that's blended pretty well. So you can still see like some redness in here, and in here, even on my forehead, and definitely right here. So we have a nice little base layer, but we ain't done yet. I would now go in with, I believe these are the Face and Bodies, the MAC Face and Body Foundation, put into smaller bottles for me by Sarah Tano. Thank you, Sarah. And labeled lovely. Isn't she lovely organized? So let's try a little layer of this. Now, Face and Body is a very sheer, dewy, beautiful foundation that for this look, I would use something like heavier, but you'll see with the steps I'm going to do that we'll get there eventually using other products. And remember, keep in mind, I am trying to stay pretty fair. So I only want to use these lighter ones, so it's okay. So this one is C2. We're gonna do a little mixy as we do. This is N1. So C2, N1. This is C1. This bottle has seen better days. This was definitely in one of my kit bags. That was also with a lot of the white makeup I used in Art Pop. I'm gonna do C1 right here for you. Now, as you can see, the shades don't really look very different, and they're still not very light. So like, they all look darker than my skin. So we're gonna have to contend with that to lighten it up. And as I do, I'm just kind of gonna mix some things together, but I'm gonna tell you this time exactly what I'm mixing. So I'm pretty sure these are the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. These are very, very thick. You really gotta like work with them and spread them out, but that number 2 right there looks, let's do a compare and contrast, okay? So here's what's on my hand, and then there's the number 2. So the paleness of this is a lot paler than that. So here's what I would do, and I'm going to do. I'm gonna do a little boop, 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 boop. Dip it in there, because remember, like I said, this step's real thick. Assuming that is what this is. See, it's on my fingers. That's very pale. On my fingers, it looks almost like white. That's gonna work out great. And then we're gonna dip into my little concoction here. I just kind of go around it, so I get a little bit of everything. I'm gonna take what's left on my fingers here of that Sensual Skin Enhancer that I tried to like clean up from the edges, and kind of like blot it on the parts of my face that are the most showing through of redness, okay? And parts I would want to highlight and make lighter anyways. Oh yeah, that spreads real nice. So yeah, any of you out there who don't do a lot of makeup, aren't familiar with it, I know all of you that do are gonna be like, I know. Don't ever be afraid to like mix different brands together, and you know, do whatever you want. You don't have to stick to one thing. It's literally your artwork. So now I'm going to take my brush full of those little central skin enhancer and the face and the body and just stipple away. Now for tour looks, I was like very generous with the base. Even though Gaga's skin is like beautiful, poreless, and flawless, it's more about makeup staying on for the whole show than like covering anything up. Especially for the Monster Ball. Well, not especially for the Monster Ball. Just beginning with the Monster Ball, because we had so many shows for so long that you kind of have to learn what works and what doesn't. We had, I don't know how, 2 years to, was it longer than that? I don't know, someone will correct me if I'm wrong, to figure out the right formula, you know? So you try something in the very beginning and you learn very quickly, oh, that does not last for 2.5 hours, especially if you're familiar with the Monster Balls. Beautiful eye crystal things that Perry made, double-side tape to her face in the beginning of the show. When you have things like that that come off during the show, you have to learn how to devise a makeup plan that's going to stay and not have like holes in it, and a microphone that does this, things like that. So as you can see up close, it like looks weird and streaky and stuff, so you just keep on trucking. Make sure you take it down the neck. And depending on what you're wearing or what the person that you're working on is wearing, I honestly don't do like a full-on décolletage. I don't pull it all the way down unless we're doing like a photo shoot and I'm gonna do the whole body makeup. But I also usually try to make the face skin color just be the same color as the body. So when you're like, feel like you're done stippling, you're going to have, if you look up close, you're gonna have like legit stipple marks, okay? So what I do then, we're gonna put this guy aside for a second and switch brushes. So now it's when I'll take the Chanel brush and pat. So it's like a rolling sort of motion. And that is going to take any of those spots where the foundation is still like sitting there and just roll it in. Now if you were to do like a wipe motion, you're more likely to just wipe away the foundation. When you do like rolling motions or patting, you're patting it in place as opposed to swirling or wiping where you're probably just wiping the makeup away. See, like on the lid, there's a little crease, you just pat it in. And at this point, I also don't worry about it being too perfect because we ain't done yet, but you do want it to look nice and even. Alright, so now we have this. Obviously looking spookier because I put foundation on my lips. So now, if it was a show, I'd be working on a beautiful, perfect skin palette. But this is me, and I've got something weird happening. So I'm going to take these little Clé de Peau, I have no idea how to pronounce it, to be honest, so I'm just pretending. This Clé de Peau concealers. I'm going to do a little dance with my under eye, brighten them up a bit, and with this weird thing over here. It looks like the lightest one is this little fella, and that's beige. I'm gonna mix beige and ivory. Let's take this Mama Jamma. This is one of my all-time faves too. I have a lot of favorites. This is Giorgio Armani. Armani? My mommy? This is my mommy. This is Giorgio Armani. Number 13. You've probably seen photos of me doing Gaga's makeup with this, holding this under her eye. The same with this guy too though. Alright, ivory and beige. Armani. See, I just brush it on the tops like that. You have them look up, or you look up. So I'm going under the eyes, on like the high points of the face, and this weird thing on the side of my nose. Now, we want to like set this. So this is one of my favorite brushes for like under eye powders and everything really. This is the Stila double-sided number 24, I think. So really the key to this being amazing is this end. This is the shape of it. So I'm dipping this into my translucent powder. And for this, I honestly could not give a crap what translucent powder it is. It doesn't make any difference to me. But the one I'm using today, I quite like because I feel like it like absorbs the oils, which I really need. This is Smooth Operator Amazonian Clay, just scratched off. Finishing powder. I just open it, whatever's in the lid. I usually just go in the lid, but since I'm really like gonna lay this SHIT on, load that brush up, look up, load those under eyes. Yeah, some of it's gonna get in your eyes, get over it. And then kind of like drag it down the sides of the nose. Wherever you're the oiliest, especially. Layer it on. Don't worry that it looks weird, like that you're all white right now, because we're going to handle that. You see, I'm just tapping it on. I'm not like doing a swirl. So yeah, I just did that over my lips. A little more priming of the lips. That's what I meant to say earlier. I said sealing. And I go on with my big fluffer, Charlotte Tilbury. Oh, it's called blusher. I've never used it for blush. All right, so now I'm swirling this into the lid. Still all with a tap. Now I'm gonna do the brows. Clear. Clear mascara. Any clear mascara will do. I want to say CoverGirl makes like a really good one, but I'm sure they all do. Any clear one will do. So you don't need to buy like $1 billion one. And you just groom them up, groom them brows, brush them in the right direction. So for this look, we did not use face tapes on the Monster Ball. Welcome to the Monster Ball. Now dance, you motherfuckers. The majority of the eyebrow sculpt is done with the following. So my favorite brushes, again, the same ones. This is Chanel Brow number 12 with them stiff bristles. And we have NARS number 5. Amazing, beautiful control. So now that the lovely clear has like set a bit, I like to use powders for eyebrows. Monster Ball was a darker brow, the dark brow, the fair skin. In the original Monster Ball, the platinum white hair. So, you know, this is my favorite little brow palette. This one is pretty dark on me, but I'm probably gonna add some more darker shadows as well. And this, anyone who wants to know about this brow kit, I honestly have no clue. I've looked for it. A woman came to wax Gaga's brows and she gave it to me. It has no distinguishing marks or writing on it. It has the most perfect, beautiful colors. I mean, it's amazing, but I have no clue what it is. The colors look like this. There are tons of colors I have that are similar, but something about these. So I'm gonna like clip this so I can really get into this brush. So I'm gonna start with the lighter colors because I think it's good to start light and then build into darker. I'm gonna start with the middle color and my tiny little NARS brush. So we just like tap into it like that. So anything you have that looks like these, that does not have any shimmer, it's very matte, will work. So for the Monster Ball, it was very like a very defined brow that came out, you know, like this. Whereas Born This Way Ball was more straight out, especially because of the face tapes, everything was like, whereas the Monster Ball was more of like an old Hollywood glamour inspired look. So if you're like me and your brows are bald, then I recommend starting with the middle, especially like, see, mine are microbladed, so it helps to guide me with the shape, but then I covered it with the foundation, so it's kind of like I'm starting from scratch again. It's also great if you're filling your brows in with color like this, to use a few different colors, because it helps to add dimension and make them look real and like pop. If you use all just one color, it looks very flat and one-dimensional. But that's not to say that you can't do that and that it won't be beautiful. I don't like to tell people that they can't do things or to not do things, because, you know, people like to do things the way they do, and if it's working for you and it looks beautiful, you like the way it looks, then keep doing you. I guess I'm not like describing what I'm doing, but I'm hoping that the doing is description in itself. So this is the middle color, using like a neutral color that's not too dark to kind of map out the shape you want. Then you could come in and really make it pop. So I'm switching brushes to the Chanel. I keep getting them confused. I'm gonna go with the lightest color for this, for the tail, to like get the shape I want. I don't have the face tapes on today, so I'm not like having that automatic snatch. I'm gonna lay this right here where I want the peak of my brow to be. And the peak of my brow, I want it to be lined up with the corner of my eye. See that? So I got it right here, okay? And the brush is gonna just help me to guide and get a straight line. The Monster Ball wasn't like all the way out. We can trim it down with a Q-tip. He's having a little moment. So I'm gonna take my little Q-tip, dipped in a little moisturizer. And if you had the Embryo Lease, you could use that, or you could really use anything. And I'm just gonna trim this baby down a little. Boop, boop. I'm gonna take my Giorgio Armani, clean them up. So right now that tail end is real light. I need to darken it up. But it helped me to like make my shape. So now I'm gonna go back in with the middle color, okay? So I'm like ready to party now. And I want this to be like really sharp. All about them sharp angles. Okay, so I have a shape I like. Now I'm gonna go in with this darker one. Okay, and I'm just gonna darken it up a little. So if I had thicker brows, I would have started with a dark brown mascara for this, and then do this, okay? And use the powder to fill in any spots that were sparse and to like sharpen up the brows. But I wouldn't be like drawing the brows on like I am right now. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this Natasha Denone's. It's like real pigmented. A little bit of that brown one, and crazy as it may seem, I'm gonna dip into a little bit of that one. It's like really dark. It's gonna go in here. Oh yeah, because at the Monster Ball, we had brows. I'm gonna take this brunette, Kevin Aucoin. I'm gonna go in here, just get things a little sharper. I like it. All right, let's do the other brow. So check it out. We got a brow, we got a nice face framing. So when you guys ask about eyeshadows and stuff, I think eyeshadows is the thing that I'm like not picky on or about. Unless it's an eyeshadow I'm using as a liner. Eyeshadows that I use as liners, I'm very picky about. I have like a particular one I'll use, and that's it. In general, it's like if you have a palette and it has something similar to, I mean, I got these in beauty boxes, and they have these colors, this color, and this color are neutral and they're matte, and they're perfect. I would use these as eyeshadows. I probably won't because they're my precious, my precious, since I want to save them. I love the Monster Ball, man. So good. I just watched it today to like get hyped and like get down, get down. It's just like such a good show. If you didn't like it, you suck. But really though, I'm laughing, but I really mean that. So the lid was pretty neutral. And these two colors are pretty similar. This guy and this one. I mean, this one's lighter. I like a light cream. I think that the Tarte one's a little more yellow. This is C2 Studio Fix, which we're gonna be using a lot of Studio Fix. So I'm gonna do a little C2 on the lid. Studio Fix is like a powder foundation sort of deal. This is NC25. Let's see. In addition to doing the lids, I'm also going to do a little layer. Start layering my Studio Fix. I'm gonna get my 25. I'm gonna use a brush like this to kind of just like get under them eyes. And I was not shy with the Studio Fix. Alright, so we got a little layer of a Studio Fix going. And I'm going to take a little bit of this on this brush, NC25, and just like really cut into these brows here. Yeah, boy. I did the base of the lid. And now we're gonna do a little crease action. You can really use whatever you want, whatever you have that's like similar to the colors I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna do a little bit of this little pinky shade to just add a little bit of a pretty feminine touch. I'm using this brush, it's Tom Ford 14. It's lovely, I love the Tom Ford brushes. And I just go like in the shape of my eye. Nothing too crazy. It's not that kind of a look. All right, now this may seem weird, but this is like one of the prettiest blushes ever. I think it was supposed to be a highlight. I don't think they make it anymore. That always happens with my favorite products. This is Smashbox Soft Lights in Lens. Looks like this. It's like a pinky shimmery. I'm gonna tap into that and use that also in the crease. You'll see it's like really subtle. It's like the right kind of shimmer. It's not like TOUCHUPS, but it just adds like a very pretty ooh la la sort of. Yeah. Just like you just build a little into this little guy here. A dab of that and a dab of this. Reminds me of Cork by MAC. But as you can see, compared to the Born This Way ball, the crease action is not like as intense. We're gonna take this Tom Ford brush again and tap into this one again, this weird like mustardy, but in a good way. Just a little tiny bit. And the corners of the eye underneath. All right, moving right along, the liner. So the liner was not quite as dragged out and exaggerated as the Born This Way ball. In the beginning, we did smolder pencil, smudged out first, but I honestly didn't feel like I had a ton of control with that, and I prefer doing a shadow because that's what I ended up using. So we're gonna do, this is the Arabian Nights by NARS. You can use this black sparkly one with my Chanel eyeliner. of course, because that's the one. Before we go deep into this, I'm gonna go back into my translucents. Before I do it, I'm gonna tap that and go in with my favorite little brush. And I'm gonna just like pound this under the eyes because we might get a little fallout from the shadow, the Arabian Nights, and we don't want it. We want it to be easy to brush away. So let's line away, yeah? So on this look, I line the entire eye. You see what I'm doing? Okay, good. And just keep dipping into the eyeshadow as I'm doing it. I like to tap the brush after I dip in so that you get the least amount of fallout as possible. So first, do like a general line of the eye. And with this, I'm going to do that with both eyes first because I think it's easier with the symmetry. One side will be different because unless you're ambidextrous, because you're going to have a dominant hand. I'm right-handed. So this side is like a little smoother and easier. And then when I do this side, it's like a little sketchier. And also, you've probably noticed that each night, it's like the liner was just like a little bit different because I'm human. So, but I'm going to do a general, what I was going for every night. Capiche? The Born This Way ball is like this angle. This one's a little more like this. So I'm gonna go make your little mark from where you want your angle to go. And if you have like a fold in your lids, like I have a little fold, so when I look up, it's like one side folds a little differently than the other. Sometimes you have to work around that. You may have to adjust your wing, and that's okay. It's perfectly normal. I can show you how to do that is what I'm trying to say. So here we go. So here I have this marked here and this one here. And when I look right now, let me make that a little darker. And like I said in my other video, I like to use the shadow first because I find that, first of all, shadow is easier to wipe away without irritating the eyes and like messing everything up. And it makes it easier to kind of like get the line and the shape that you want and like even out the symmetry before just like going right into like your liquid liner that's gonna like stay forever. So I make those little marks so that I can then look and check out the symmetry situation. So right now, let me get this little angle going. So that symmetry looks pretty good to me. They look even. So I'm gonna keep going with that. So the Monster Ball eye wing was more of a inspired by like old Hollywood starlight glamour. So that's what the shape was all about. And then you kind of go from there. So I made that mark and now I'll kind of drag it out one by one, eye by eye, kind of like fill it in. And then I'll take the tip of this brush and line it up with my wing and go, how far do I want to go out? I think I'll go out to like here. And the brush is so thin and sharp, you can get it as sharp as you want. Now the Monster Ball was a bit of a thicker liner. If you have problems with shaky hands or anything, a great trick, assuming you're not holding a mirror, which why would you be in normal life, is to do this. And then lean this arm on a counter or something. And then you'll have a steadier hand. So you kind of make the shape you like. It's very important to step back, check it out, make sure everything's even Stevens, and then start darkening and filling in. Now, like I said, we didn't use face tapes for this show, but if you would like to, by all means, go ahead. I've had a lot of you ask about, like, if you don't have a lid or like droopy lids or something, face tapes can really help with that and help you to get like the perfect makeup shape you want. Around where your pupil is when you're looking straight forward is where I would start raising the eyeliner and making it a little bit bigger. Look forward, see where your pupil is, and mark it. I'm into that. I like the looks of that. Let me just fill this in perfectly. One of the good things about heavy makeup is if you're trying to fix asymmetry, it is very helpful because you have a lot more to work with and play with. I would use MAC Black Track in, what's the black color? I don't remember what it's called, but you guys probably know. But I only have dip down here, which is such a good product. It's like the gel liner, fluid line in Black Track is what I meant to say. That's what I use for the next line. Since I don't have that right now, I'm going to use this. I'm obsessed with this palette. I've had it for literally like 15 years, and look, it's like, what? You have every liner you could possibly want. So I'm going to use the black one. And they don't dry out. Like, I don't know how they did it, but they don't dry out. So I'm going to go over the line with this. And I like to get the extras off on my hands so I don't go in with like a whole chunk and then mess up my perfect line. So we take our Q-tip, dip it in a little moisturizer or whatever you want, you know. I like moisturizer because if you do it in like a makeup remover or something, it can kind of like sting your eyes or take everything off. A moisturizer, in a weird way, it like adds to your makeup. It's like at any point during a makeup application, if something's looking funky, you can literally add a little moisturizer and stipple, and like things just seem to start working out better. And I'm like lining the inside of my eyelid, or the waterline. I'm a stickler for a perfect line with no skips or bumps. Every night I would go out into the audience, watch the show, look at that Megatron, and wait for the moment that those sunglasses came off, the purple sparkly ones, to see her eyes and make sure that everything looked beautiful and perfect, especially after those purple sticky eye gem things got pulled off. It was like the moment of truth. And when it looked flawless and beautiful, it's like, I could breathe again. So I'm gonna do this layer first before I do the mascara and lashes, and then we'll do another layer of it over the lashes. So this is Point Black by MAC. It's amazing. It's super duper duper waterproof. So I do a little dab in the back of my hand, and this dab alone in the back of my hand, it doesn't wash off. That tells you something. When you use this on your brush, literally wash your brush immediately because it don't play. Get a little on there and Do the same thing we just did. It's all about the layering, baby. Looking up helps, you know, like that when you're doing it on yourself. See, it gets a little thicker with each layer, like the actual eye line. All right, so I am happy with those lines. I'm going to take my brush, and I have a little leftover moisturizer right here. I'm just going to smush it in there, and that's going to loosen up that fluid line that's on there so that it doesn't ruin my brush, because I'm not close to a sink at the moment. I'm going to just take a little tappity-doo-doo of this, little brownsies, and just get a little more in that crease, because I decided I wanted to, and a little bit down here. Let's clean up any under eyes, any fallout or whatever. I'm going to curl the lashes, put on mascara, and while the mascara dries, I'm going to finish the face with color. Chanel eyelash curler, the best. You bring it down to the base, squeeze it, and lift. My mascara. I didn't used to do this primer in the tour, but I don't like to do mascara without it anymore. Prime them up, prime them up. Mascara. And this is Clinique. And try not to get mascara on your hair unless you're into that sort of thing. Okay, mascara done. I'm going to contour the face. I'm going to use my Studio Fix. This is C2 and NC25 C3. I'm going to touch up my base with a little bit of this Lumiere. I'm taking the light, tap, 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 tap. And yes, I'm going over the Studio Fix, etc. Oh yeah, that's good. That's nice and light. Now this isn't like part of the look or something you have to do. That's why I was trying to keep the Lumiere and the expensive products out of the situation. So over this, I would go, I know, more makeup, go into this. So this is the point where I would just like go to town. So I'm going to do this for you because I love you. Now take whatever blush brushes. I really love this NARS one. For the contour, I use blushes. Sometimes you could go with a little bit of Studio Fix. This is C6, and you could use that as like a little bit of a darker tone. I just like warmed it up a little. Okay, we're gonna use I think this was Melba, yes. Tap, 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 and just contour the cheeks. And do a little bit Gilda, love Gilda, so good. NARS, same thing. And then I'm gonna use Liberty, or Libert, I don't really know. For that, I'm going to use the double-ended Stila, this side. So for the lashes, for the Monster Ball, I used 3 pairs. I'm going to prep them. I'm pretty sure for me, I'm gonna have to cut off the last 2. So let me just make sure. These are MAC. MAC makes them a bit long. I'm gonna cut off these 2. So these are number 7s. Now the second lash is number 34. That looks like this. They're actually brown, and I'm gonna prep all of them at the same time. I'm gonna be layering them. Also MAC, and it looks like this. While we do our highlight. So this MAC pigment powder in white is what we're gonna use. And I put in the cap, and we're just gonna tap into it like that, and then tap it off. We're gonna come from here and just like right underneath the liner, like that. We're gonna need a different brush to blend that out. I'm gonna bring him onto the brow bone. Go. Good. You see it doesn't like move around a lot. It kind of just stays right where you put it. That's why you want to tap most of it off. And I'm gonna get some more from my hand and go like that. Just so it like highlights the lid. But make sure it blends out really good because it does like stick in one place wherever you put it. Yeah. Now I'm gonna take this guy and just dip back into my Gilda. In my Melba. Oh yeah, let's check in our lashes. We need a few more minutes. All right, so while those are cooking, let's do the lips. So I'm gonna do the original just red lip. I like to take my Jungle Red by NARS. This is MAC. This is like a little lipstick palette. This is Ruby Woo. Now I'm going to take my Brick by MAC and contour. And I like to do like a rounder on the sides sort of deal. Gives me like that old Hollywood feel. You want to like go underneath, look like this, and line under there. Now, and take my Sealed with a Kiss. Really. I'm so shocked this isn't dried up. This stuff is primo. Do a layer of that. It's a lip sealant, by the way. Let's check on the lashes. All right, these are ready. So I'm starting with the number 7s. Let's go in here. That's how I like them. All right, let's get the next one before the thing dries up. Now, last step. Can you believe it? It's like we've known each other for ages now. We would put a little more of this in your hand because you're just gonna reinforce that line, make it pure as perfect. I would reinforce her beauty mark, pops a little extra, and then it's like bam from far away. And just a little touch up of the eyeliner, which also will give it even more staying power. Plus, you don't want to be able to see that glue. So we're gonna do our little white with our little doodle. Just in the cap, so it's not like, but it's like, you know what I mean. We're gonna go in. Now we have our beauty mark there, so we don't wanna like mess it up too much. So when you do highlight, when I do highlight at least, I like to like go in right underneath the eye, like right there. Make it pop, make it pop, make it pop. All right, one more layer of lips and we are going to the ball. Use our lip brush, our Chanel lip brush, number 1. Get that Ruby Woo again. I really like the Ruby Woo in the palette because you're gonna use a brush anyways, because the stick, it's like trying to rub a crayon in your lips. And like get on the inside there so you don't have that weird inside mouth line. Yeah. And then I will take my Sealed with a Kiss and I will do one more layer of sealant. Welcome to the Monster Ball. So that is the original theater version of the Monster Ball tour look. And pose. And pose. And work. And work. But imagine I have like blonde, beautiful waves.